You think corporate power is about corner offices, stock options, and boardroom decisions. You have been told that the CEO sees everything because he sits at the top. But there is a blindness that comes with that height, a systematic gap in perception that those at the bottom never develop. For 99.9% of human history, your ancestors survived by reading their environment from the ground. They noticed the subtle shift in wind, the broken branch that signaled a predator, the change in the group's mood before a conflict erupted. They had to. Those who did not notice were removed from the gene pool. Today, you sit in a climate-controlled building, and your brain is still running that same ancient program. But the problem is that the CEO's brain runs it from a different altitude. This is the parallel that no one connects. The janitor and the CEO both have human brains wired for survival. But the information each receives is completely different, and one of them is systematically blinded by the very structure meant to protect them. Consider what researchers have confirmed. CEOs are insulated by layers of assistants, scheduled meetings, and filtered reports. Their power leads to overconfidence, making them blind to risks and power dynamics within their own organizations. This is not opinion. This is verified. The very thing that elevates them also cuts them off from the raw signal of what is actually happening. Stop and think. Have you ever felt this difference between what leadership hears and what is really happening? That feeling is not luck. It is your ancestral survival program picking up a signal that has been filtered out. If you want to learn how to recognize these signals before they are erased by corporate noise, subscribe to the channel and tell me in the comments, when was the last time you noticed something your boss clearly could not see? Now, look at the other side. Janitors experience chronic invisibility due to job stigma and spatial separation. This has been documented in academic research. They move through the building at hours when the suits are gone. They see the discarded memos, the tension in hallways after a closed-door meeting, the way a certain manager's office light stays on late every night before a layoff. They are not looking for power dynamics, but their position forces them to see them anyway. The official story says that the person with the most access knows the most. But here is the first crack in that belief. The CEO has access to data. The janitor has access to reality. And those are not the same thing. There are documented examples of janitors uncovering corporate sabotage or espionage. Multiple credible sources confirm cases where janitors risked their safety or jobs to report what they saw. They were not trained to investigate. They simply noticed that something did not fit. And because they moved through the space without the filter of power, they saw what those in power refused to see. Now observe what happens to the CEO's brain when he walks through the same space. He is accompanied by an entourage. Every interaction is managed. People tell him what they think he wants to hear. His brain learns over years to trust the filtered version over the raw one. This is not malice. This is a survival program that has adapted to a hierarchical environment. But in a modern corporation, that survival program becomes a cage. Now stop for a second. What have you been feeling so far? That sense that something is wrong with the way power works. You have felt this before. Maybe at work, when you realized your boss had no idea what was really happening inside your team. Maybe in politics, when you saw an isolated leader make a catastrophic decision. It was not incompetence. It was a survival program working perfectly in an environment that no longer exists. Look at how this pattern repeats across different levels. The brain that rises to power learns to trust its own filters. It stops seeing the flaw. It stops noticing the small signals that everyone below sees clearly. Meanwhile, those at the bottom have no filter at all. They see the raw, unfiltered reality of the organization, but they are dismissed, invisible, not because their information is worthless, but because their position is considered low. Here is the part that changes everything. Research confirms that corporate power structures are not designed to help the CEO see. They are designed to help him act, and those are not the same thing. Seeing requires vulnerability. Acting requires confidence. The more confident he becomes, the less he sees. The less he sees, the more dangerous his decisions become. This is deeper than it seems. What is at stake is not just a management mistake. It is the very architecture of your brain being shaped by the hierarchical environment you occupy. If you are committed to understanding how these ancestral programs continue operating inside you every single day, subscribe so you do not miss the next deep dives. And answer me in the comments. Have you ever felt trapped between seeing the truth and having to pretend you do not see it? How many times have you caught yourself imagining the worst possible scenario for a situation that has not even happened yet, and felt your entire body respond as if the danger were already there? Your brain is not trying to punish you. It is trying to protect you with a program that worked perfectly when the danger was a predator on the savannah. But now the danger is a corporate system that rewards blindness. Now apply this to your own life. You have experienced this mismatch, the feeling that you understand something about your own organization that your leaders will never acknowledge. The frustration of seeing a problem clearly while those above you argue about the wrong solution. You are not wrong. They are not blind by accident. They are blind by design. If you have ever felt that sense of powerlessness from knowing exactly what needs to be done while having no power to do it, then you know exactly what I am talking about. It is the feeling of carrying a map that no one wants to look at. And here is where the ancestral wiring becomes clear. Your brain evolved to trust signals from the ground, the crunch of leaves, the scent of smoke, the subtle shift in a companion's posture. These are survival signals. In a modern corporation, those signals still exist, but they are not in the quarterly report. They are in the way people avoid eye contact after a meeting, in the silence that follows a certain question, in the trash can that holds a confidential memo. The janitor sees these signals because he is still on the ground. The CEO has been lifted above them, and no one tells him they are even there. What you are feeling right now, this understanding that the structure meant to illuminate power actually blinds it, is exactly the kind of clarity you already carried, but did not know how to name. And if you want to keep receiving this key for reading the world around you, you already know where to find me. There is a deeper layer here that most people never reach. The CEO does not just miss information. He misses the understanding that he is missing it. His power convinces him that he has the best perspective. But the best perspective is not the one with the most data. It is the one with the least interference. The janitor has no reputation to protect, no narrative to maintain. He simply sees what is there. This is why stories of janitors uncovering fraud persist across different cultures and industries. Not because janitors are inherently more observant, but because their position gives them something the CEO can never have: freedom from the blindness of power. The CEO sees what he wants to see. The janitor sees what is. You are not here by accident. You're here because, on some level, you already know that the truth about any system is always found at its edges, not at its center. And the more you understand this principle, the more you realize that your current position, however low it may seem, may be the only one that allows you to see clearly. The parallel between ancestral and modern environments now reveals its full shape. For 200,000 years, the person who saw the edge of the camp knew more about the approaching threat than the leader at the center. The leader had status, but the edge had information. This was a balanced system. Not anymore. Today, the person at the edge is invisible. The person at the center is celebrated. And the entire organization suffers because the information never flows upward. The brain of the CEO never receives the signal that would save the company, because the signal comes from someone he has been trained to ignore. Now you have decoded the map. You know that your position at the edge is not an accident. It is where raw information still exists. But this knowledge only matters if you act. If this principle resonated with you, if you felt that this key opens doors you did not even know were locked, subscribe now while the clarity is still fresh. And leave in the comments the word that defines what you see most from your place. Is the word edge or is the word center? Because the answer reveals more about you than you imagine. This is the part most people ignore. The CEO is not the villain of this story. He is also the victim of a survival program that worked for millennia. His brain learned that rising means trusting others less. It means filtering. It means protecting the position. But the world has changed, and the program is still running. What you have seen today is not a critique of power. It is a map of your own mind. You know the feeling of being overlooked. You know the frustration of seeing clearly while others remain blind. But what if that frustration is not a weakness? What if it is the very signal your ancestors relied on to survive? The janitor understands corporate power because he has nothing to lose. The CEO refuses to see it because he has everything to lose. And your brain, shaped by the same ancestral wiring, understands both positions at once. You feel the pull of power and the clarity of invisibility. This is not confusion. This is your mind telling you that both truths exist simultaneously. What you felt today, that sense that your current position, however modest it may be, carries a wisdom that power will never reach, is not the end. It is the beginning. And if you want to keep decoding the map of your own ancestral mind, I will be here whenever you are ready to look within.